I've just had my hair transplant. It was a 2-day procedure, 8 hours each day, 1,000 hairs taken out of my donor area, and that probably took between kind of 9 AM until about 1 PM. And then I had a very brief prep to lunch in the patient room, which is a really nice kind of cosy room, just kind of away from the kind of operating or kind of surgical theatre, with a nice television as well. So it's kind of an opportunity to actually get away from it all and chill out for about half an hour whilst you're eating your lunch. But you can't have a lunch for too long because obviously you've got your hairs that have been taken out that kind of sitting in the trays. And what was really, really interesting, I actually got to look down the telescope and see the hairs that have been taken out, and I think we assume that we just have single hairs, but in fact we don't. We've got single hairs, double hairs and triple hairs, and basically your doctor at the Harley Street Hair Clinic, you actually have a dedicated doctor that stays with you the whole 2 days, so it's not like you've got loads of people working on it. I had an amazing doctor called Greg. I'm very particular about the angles that hairs go in. I like particular, so we were a very good match. And he'd actually had the treatment done himself, which was great because he was kind of a living example, and he kind of, fully understood from a kind of 360 perspective what's required for a hair transplant. But you also get the nurse who works alongside the doctor, and the relationship between them is so important because obviously the doctor's pulling out the hair, and then the nurse is looking at them under the telescope, counting them one by one, and you've got to remember there's 1,000 hairs they've got to count, so they've got to be particularly good at counting, and then sectioning them off into different trays of single hairs, double hairs and triple hairs. And the reason that's so important is because when we started, well we didn't, the doctor did, started putting the hairs, actually implanting them back into the front at about 1:30 to 5 PM. They were loaded into almost like a canister, and he put the single hairs into the front because you kind of wouldn't want split hairs at the front. You want kind of very strong single hairs, the double hairs behind it, and then triple hairs behind it, just to kind of give it that volume. And the whole time I was under local anaesthetic. And I'm quite a heavy bleeder, so there was quite a lot of blood, so it was quite a hard job for Greg, but he got there in the end, and I got a taxi home. I would completely advise, if you're not from London, booking a very local hotel, or if you are from London, investing in an Uber. Mine cost about £20 each way, and it was completely worth it because you don't want to be getting on the London Underground after something like this. You might be knocked, all kind of germs are flying over there. It's just not worth the risk when it's such an expensive procedure. So I got a taxi home with my friend Tony, who was great, completely looked after me, was ensuring that I was spraying my hair with a saline solution every half an hour, made me dinner, and I made up my bed, and I made up my bed of the kind of blue cloth that I was given. You get a little goodie bag to take away with you at the end of the day. So yeah, it was made up from the blue cloth, and then I'd actually seen it in someone else's video who had had a treatment at the Harley Street Hair Clinic. I had a travel cushion that I put under my pillow, so it kept my head upright and straight. I do generally sleep on my side, and you're allowed to either sleep with your head up or on your side. So I kind of flipped between the two in the night. I won't lie that the first night I did wake up about 10 to 12 times, but at least that was an opportunity to spray my hair with the saline solution and keep myself hydrated. And then it was on to day 2. My lovely housemate Jess actually drove me in, bless her, and I got to the clinic for about 10 o'clock, and we pretty much started straight away. I think it's a lot easier on the second day because you know what to expect. So they started off again with me with my kind of face down, extracting the 1,000 hairs, counting them, looking at them under the microscope and sectioning them off. Then we had some lunch, and then it was the final part where I got to watch a bit of Netflix and an ITV Hub, catch up on a few TV shows when they were putting them back in. I would say there was a lot less pain actually on the second day. I'm not too sure why that was, but maybe I'd become used to it. Maybe it's because I knew that we were kind of coming to an end. But yeah, that was absolutely fine. And then it was time to go home. Jumped in an Uber again. Had a very light dinner. I have actually lost my appetite a little bit, kind of over this. I'm not sure if it's to do with the pain or what, or the tablets, but I've not eaten as much as I usually would. But yes, I had a kind of very chilled night last night. Actually didn't really feel like I was in that much pain at all. Slept really well. I only woke up a couple of times in the night, again, just sprayed my hair with the saline solution. And then I woke up this morning and it was lovely to know that I didn't have to go back and have any more hair pulled out or put in. But yes, I woke up this morning and I was able to have my first coffee in 2 days, which I was having real withdrawals from. So it was a lovely kind of reward for going through the 16 hours of surgery. So I made myself a nice coffee or two. And now it's all about spending the next couple of days at home, just relaxing, chilling out, kind of not getting the tube anywhere or going anywhere near central London, and just ensuring that I kind of recover well, because recovery is so important when you have a hair transplant. I'm actually just about to wash my hair for the first time. In my goodie bag was a small baby shampoo. So I actually won't be washing the whole thing because you're not supposed to do that quite yet. Obviously this area is still very delicate and you don't want to be putting too much movement around that area, especially in the shower. So I'm just washing off the donor area where there's drawings, a bit gruesome, but there's a bit of blood as well still there. So that should be lovely to clean that all up, and you know, it's just one step closer to kind of fully recovering.